let's nuke this whole place up and kill all these losers in this server. Yeah. Welcome back, guys, to a new Roblox Studio. Today we're going to be doing a suggested tutorial by someone, and it's basically a nuke all servers game pass or / dev product. So what that does is someone buys a nuke dev product, right? And it nukes basically all the servers in your game, making a big explosion and whatever you want, right? Now, it doesn't have to be a nuke. It can be really anything. But nuke, like the nuke Game Pass is probably like one of the most popular ones. So we're going to be doing the basics. Right now, we're going to start with the server script and server script service. And we're going to be using a messaging service, right? The reason why we use messaging service is so we can actually access all the servers and send a message to all the servers for the nuke, right? So let's get messaging service. Let's call it MS for short. Game get service, messaging service. And then from MS, we're gonna subscribe to a topic. What that does, it basically listens to a channel, for example, or a topic. It's called a topic, but it's basically when you listen to a channel and you receive notifications. In this case, when you subscribe to a topic, you receive messages. For example, when someone buys a Game Pass, we're gonna get a message saying this guy wants to nuke all servers, and then we nuke all the servers in the game. So we're gonna do MS messaging service, subscribe as sync. As you can see, topic is the string, and you can really name anything. It can be pretty vague, so we can call it event because we can add it can be any event too. We can add more events to it. It doesn't have to be just the nuke event. And the callback, which is a function that we want to run once we listen to a message that's been sent, or once we receive a message, right? Function, and then we're going to keep it as an empty function, right? So once we receive a message, we're just going to fire this function, and in here, what's passed down is the message that's sent. And I'm going to teach you how you can actually access the data inside this message if need be. And let's just we're just gonna wrap this into a pcall function. So local success, let's put some space here. Local success error equals pcall function. Then put this here. This is just so we can contain any errors, and if there's an error, it doesn't ruin the entire script, right? We're gonna work on this. This is not complete. We're just gonna work on this later once we actually have everything else done. So now the second thing we need to do is we need a way to know when a player has bought the dev product, right? And there is a way. And then once a player bought the dev product, we publish a message, right? So once we publish a message, this event, this topic is gonna receive that message, and it's gonna fire this function, and we're gonna add code to this function for the nuke to happen, basically. So we can do this. Now let's actually make a dev product first. Then we can detect whenever the player has bought the dev product. So go in game settings. Now I think I already made a dev product right here. So let's make a dev product, right? I already made one. It's called Nuke. But you can just edit it and name it whatever. I don't need to because I already made one. So we can actually it doesn't matter, but let's just copy the ID right here. Copy ID to clipboard. Save. And now, first thing first, let's actually make a screen UI. I mean, you don't have to. You can do whatever. But let's just put the ID here. So let's call this nuke 1. It's one nuke. And you can also add as much events as you want. You can make one that's like nuke 10, right? Have 10 nukes. Or like a blimp event. I don't know, whatever. But this is the dev product. And then we're going to make a table or a dictionary. Products equals. And then a table. And then we make a dictionary. So square brackets nuke 1. And then equals a function. And I don't think you really need to add any parameters, but we're just going to set this to a function. So once a player has bought this, we know that, well, since this is the Game Pass for the nuke, we're going to buy via the function that makes the nuke happen, right? But we're just gonna use messaging service to publish the message. And then once we publish this message, this is gonna fire. This function is gonna fire, and then we can actually make the physical nuke occur, right? It's kind of confusing, but it's kind of like step by step. Just forget about this, or don't worry about this right now. We're just gonna make the GUI, which is gonna be pretty simple. We're gonna do this real quick. So let's make an image button. All right. Let's make a nuke image. This looks good. Nuke. This looks actually better. Then let's set this to 0 or to 1. Background transparency. Then let's change the size. 0.5 or 0.1, 0.05. Let's just resize this actually. Okay. Now a local script inside this image button. So let's make sure we copy this ID. Local game pass ID equals this. And local player equal game.player.local player. It's a local player. Script.parent.mouse.one click. Connect function. This is what happens when a player clicks it. And then we're gonna prompt the purchase for the dev product. So let's get marketplace service. So marketplace service, game get service, marketplace service. Oops. Let's put some space. Yeah, basically. All right. So market prompt product purchase, and then the player, which is a local player that we got, and the product ID, which is the Game Pass ID. And I think that should be it. All right. Now we detect whether or not the player has purchased this Nuke Game Pass. So we're gonna also get marketplace service. So market service, go game get service, marketplace service. All right. So marketplace service dot receipt process receipt equal function, and this is going to be the receipt. Now I'm not really. All right, this should be good. Process receipt, and whenever a receipt has been processed, so whenever something has been bought, we're gonna run this function and check. So first, let's do local. We don't really need the player either. We're just gonna make sure that the dev product has actually been bought. It doesn't matter who bought it. We're just gonna check, right, the receipt, and then we're gonna check actually the dev product from this table. We only have one anyways, but we're gonna see what dev product it is. Then we're gonna fire this function, and we're gonna fire like the nuke, and then we're gonna use messaging service to publish the message. So I'm gonna do local product ID, which is the ID of the product, equals seek the product ID, and then we're gonna for I, and it should be product or ID. Let's do I for ID, and then function in pairs, then products. Do if ID equal product ID 10. We're just gonna make a pcall function real quick. Local suck air equals function. Hold a second. Pcall function. And then we're gonna run func, which is the function right here. And then once we finish that, we're gonna break out of this for loop first. right? And then we're gonna return enum dot product purchase decision, purchase granted, and this should be good. So once we run this function, let's test it by using a print statement. Print Nuke has been bought. We're just gonna use this as a test. So we're gonna buy this Game Pass and we're gonna see if this works. Right? The only thing we're really doing is checking what the product ID is, so you can actually make more than just one dev product. So let's test this out right now. So we're gonna buy Nuke for 1 Robux, and it says Nuke has been bought in the output. So now we know the script can check whether or not the player has bought a Nuke. So now what we can do is use messaging service to publish that message. So ms as in messaging service, publish async. The topic again is like the channel, and in this case it's event because we made it event, and then comma the message. So this is the data we can send to all the servers. Now it's not very necessary, but we can send, for example, a message saying this is a nuke, and then we want to nuke all the servers, and this is just 1 nuke. So we can do like 1 nuke because the player has bought 1 nuke to nuke all the servers with, or 1 nuke per server, I guess you can say. And then that should be it. ms, right? Once we publish this event, this will fire this function right here because this is when we subscribe to it. Now message will be the 1 nuke, but the actual message is a table that contains the data and then some other table for something. I think it was the time it's sent. But to access this message we sent, we're gonna do message.data. So let's just print message.data. Message.data is the table that contains this message right here. So we're gonna test this out real quick. It should print out 1 nuke. By nuke, it says 1 nuke because that's the message we sent, the data we sent from when we published it right here. So now we have the messaging service all made. So technically, once someone buys this print statement will fire on all the servers in your game, which is pretty cool. Now, last thing we really need is to actually make the physical nuke happen, which is probably like the longest part of the game, but we can do it. So we're gonna get a nuke model. We can use nuke tool. Let's search up nuke model. Probably not the please donate nuke, but I'm gonna make it like fall from the sky like this. Right, you can make it as high as you want, and then anywhere you want really. So this is called the bomb. Make sure all the parts in your model is anchored. So let's do Alt and select all, and then make sure they're all anchored. So they should all be anchored, and preferably you want it to not collide. So once you make sure all of these are anchored, let's make this as high as you want. So right here, this is actually 70. Actually, first, let's make a primary part. You would need a primary part for this model. If it doesn't have a primary part, of course, but if it does, you shouldn't really worry about this. So set this primary part to any primary part you want. In this case, let's just make it the head. This is so we can actually track and move the missile, since it's a model, right? If it's just a part, if it's literally just a mesh part, then you obviously don't need a primary part. It's not a model. But if it's a model like this, you need a primary part. And then for the bomb, you can see the position. So the position in the y-axis is 77. That's the height of the missile. So you will able to see it. This is kind of weird because it feels like it's higher than 77. But you can change this to like around 100 studs if you want. All right, and this will be the height. This will be the height of the missile, which will be important later on. So now once we got the bomb, Let's put this in replicated storage. Okay. Let's go back to our script. Now let's make a function. Function Nuke server. And then we're gonna actually pass the data we got. So message.data. So let's do Nuke server and then message.data. And then, oh, what the hell? Did not mean to do that. Message.data. Nuke server message.data. And then, I mean, we don't have to call this a Nuke server. I think a better name would be like, because you want it, you can add like other events to it. So let's do run event. I don't know. Run event. And then this will be the event. If event equals 1 nuke right here, then we will make the code for the 1 nuke. All right. So now what we can do, local nuke clone full game.replicated storage .bomb clone, because that's the name of the model. You can rename this to a nuke, and then you just have to change it right here. But yeah, it's called bomb. So we're gonna clone this, and then we're gonna make it fall from the sky. Now, an easier way to do this is to make a for loop. You can also use tweens if you want, but since this is a model, you would have to technically weld all the parts, and that's gonna be kind of a pain. You can do it through a script as well, but I mean, I feel like a for loop, which it's much more simpler. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna do for I equals. Now the first number will be the height it starts from, so it's gonna be 100 studs in the air. The second number is where it's gonna end, 0, and the increment. The increment is gonna be negative 0.5, something like that, or negative 1. So it goes down 1 stud every iteration. Do, and then I'm gonna wait a very small, very small amount of time, like a fraction of a second, and then it's gonna basically animate. So to do that, we just set the position every iteration. We're gonna decrease the position of the nuke until it reaches 0, which is basically the ground. Now, if you have a different ground, like if the platform is higher, obviously you would need to change this number to the Y position of the ground of your floor, right? So since this is a base plate, as you can see, the position is basically -8. That's just because it's kind of thick, but the floor, the surface of it is around 0, right? So we're gonna use from 100, which is the height, to 0, where it's gonna end, and then an increment of -1. So it goes down 1 every second. All right. So now we're gonna do. Let's parent this, of course. New clone.parent equals game.workspace. New clone set primary part C-frame. All right. And we're going to set it to the same C-frame, new clone.primary part.C-frame. But we subtract, of course, a bit. So vector3.new. We're not going to subtract from the x-axis, but we are going to subtract from the y-axis, and we're not going to subtract from the z-axis. We won't subtract from the y-axis because it's going down vertically from top to bottom, and it's subtracting. So we're subtracting 1 every iteration, so it goes down 1 stud every iteration, basically. Now, obviously, you can change this. If you think this is too slow or too fast, you can change the numbers. If it's too slow, you can increase this increment right here, and it should be fairly smooth as long as you have a short wait time. If you want it a bit slower, you would just decrease this value, the increment, as well as the increment right here. Right. So let's actually test this, and then when it finishes, we're gonna destroy. And then just make sure it's anchored as well. So we just made the first part. We made the missile fall from top to bottom. So this is gonna be pretty cool. Let's actually test this out. Call a no value. For some reason it's oh yeah, I changed the name of this, so change the name of the function when you call it. So this should run this function right here. The purchase of Nuke. Oh, okay. So it kind of fell pretty fast. So let's actually try to slow this, or let's move this higher, because that was way too fast. New clone, set prime and part C frame. C frame. Okay. Let's try to make this 150, start at 150. And we're gonna move this a bit higher too. So the position is like around 100, so let's make this 150. I feel that was a bit too fast, no? Strange. You can make this, you can make the wait time a bit longer to make it slower. But you can kind of see though, it still works, obviously. Got to move this back to replicated storage. Always move this back to replicated storage once you finish from scripting everything. Okay, so as you can see, it's actually going pretty fast, but as you can see, once it hits the ground, it disappears. And then we can actually make explosion effect. We can't really make a really like complicated one. You can actually use like different free models or like modules to make like explosions or something like that. But we can really make like an expanding circle as an explosion. It's very simple stuff. It's nothing really, you know, top of the line. It's just an example in a tutorial. So we're not gonna make something too complicated, right? So for this, I feel like we went a bit too fast. So we're gonna do 0.5 and 0.5. Just gonna be about 2 times slower. But you kind of get the idea. You can change the numbers to make it slower or faster. But we're gonna go to our next part, which is the expanding circle for the explosion effect. So it's gonna be kind of similar, except we're gonna use spheres, basically, not circles, but spheres. I meant. So a sphere right here, and I don't know why. We're gonna make this a bit transparent like this, and then we can make this bunch of colors, like whatever. It actually doesn't really matter. We're gonna change the colors in the script, so we're gonna call this explosion. Explosion. Make sure this is can't collide. So turn this off and anchored, and put this in replicated storage. So now we're gonna make two for loops. One is for how many explosion circles we want. So let's say we want 15 explosion circles. So local explosions, or like shockwaves. They're kind of like shockwaves, yeah. Whatever. 15. Before I equals 1 to explosions. 2. We're gonna clone in explosion sphere. Local explosion clone equals game the replicated storage clone explosion clone. We're gonna set this position to where the impact of the nuke was. So once we finish this, actually nuke clone, we're gonna put this before the explosions. We're gonna remove the nuke before we have the explosions, and then we're gonna get the position. So local nuke position equals nuke clone dot position. So now we can use this variable to use it here for the explosion clone. We're gonna put this at the same position the nuke has impacted the ground. All right, and now I think that should be it, but we can also change the colors. So what I think I'm trying to do, actually, yeah, you know what, we're gonna make it like red at first and then slowly turn into like yellow, orange, kind of like variation of colors. You can make this the shockwaves any color you want. But as an example, explosion clone. Oops. Explosion clone dot color equal color 3 introduced from RGB. So as an example, like we can make this from red, right? And then from red, then slowly from orange to yellow like that. Now, if you can see the RGB values, when we go to the left a bit, it's gaining more green value. The red is staying the same and the blue is also staying the same. If we go lower, the blue increases, but if we go in a straight line, it should stay the same. And the green is the only thing that's really increasing. So you can see. So we can add more green value to make it like more of a orangish than to a yellow like that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. We're going to keep blue like around like 20-ish. And red is going to be 25, 25.5. I was 255. So since we are in a for loop, we can make the green dependent on the I, which is the number of explosions, right? The current explosion number, if that makes any sense, right? Since I is always increasing, we can do I times 15, for example. Or I times 20. I times 15 sounds good. Will be one, so like the last now. We'll do I times 10, just so we don't want to increase it too much. And then 255 is gonna stay the same. Then blue is gonna stay like 28. Let's do it 25. All right. So we're gonna slowly turn into a yellowish from red to orange and then to yellow, kind of like that. Explosion clone. That parent workspace. So I think now we're pretty much done. Now all we're gonna do is kind of make it expand. So we're gonna make another for loop, as I said before. For I equals 1 to, let's say, 1000. That's the size of the circle, the last size, the final size of the circle. And then we're gonna increase by like, I don't even know, 10, 50, 150, or 50, no, 15. Yeah, 15 is good. No, I don't know. Maybe make it 25 to make it really like fast. But that's the increment again. All right. So now we're gonna change the explosion size. Explosion clone. That size equals vectors3 dot new, and then I. Then once we're done with that, we're gonna do explosion clone. Now, since we kind of want to make it so each explosion is quite overlapped. We don't want it to like expand and then wait until it finishes expanding until the next shockwave. So we kind of want the shockwaves to overlap. And to do that, we're just going to make it run at the same time. So spawn function. And then we're going to make the expanding for loop run at the same time as the other shockwaves / explosions. So once this is done, we're obviously going to add a wait to this. And then I think, all right, should be good. And now once we're done with that, or once we're finished to one shockwave, we're going to wait a small delay for the other shockwave. We don't want to all run instantaneously. So we're going to do wait about 2.5, something like that. That's just so after the first explosion has started, we're going to wait a short delay until the next shockwave / explosion will also start. Because right now, if we didn't have a wait, it's going to run all at the same time. So we don't want that. All right. So this looks pretty good. All right. So now we can actually test this. Right, we bought the nuke. The nuke will come down soon. I think I should have made it a bit lower. Yeah, I should have made it a bit lower. But it seems like it's not working. Now, I'm supposed to do a primary part for this. My bad. Nuke clone is a model, so we can't just get the position of the model. We need the primary part of the model. That was the second time I actually made that mistake. It was crazy. But now it should work completely fine. Now we have the nuke. Should come down soon. And it's making a pretty cool shockwave. It's kind of turning from red to yellow to orange, or from red to orange to yellow. But that's pretty cool. Now my favorite part, which is the sounds, right? We can add sound effects. So I found some pretty cool sound effects. I'll go to my recent audio. So I made this one. This one is pretty cool. So we're gonna add this one. Oops, let's put this in workspace. And this is also pretty cool. Explosion sound. So we're gonna play this along the way. Pretty simple to play them. All we have to do is choose where we can make them play. So right now, let's do it when we first start. Let's make the siren play. So local, or not local, what am I doing? Game.workspace. .nuke alarm, then play. And then this should run while the nuke is coming down. And then once the nuke hits, we can actually stop the sound, or not. It doesn't really matter. Or you can start making the explosion sound, right? So this will play the explosion sound once the nuke hits the ground, and I think that's pretty much it, right? Now, last thing we really need is to make it kill all the players. If you want, you can make it kill all the players. You don't have to add this if you want, but you can just make a function. So kill all, and then we're just gonna do for IP in pairs game that players get children do if, or let's make a character because we need to get the character and then the humanoid, and so we can change the health of the humanoid, so we can basically make the players die. We're gonna change their health to 0. So let's get the character. Local character. Repeat that character. Like that. Character. If not, oh my god, I can't spell. If not car, then continue. So if the character hasn't been loaded yet, we're just gonna skip through that iteration and we're gonna go to the next player. And then we're gonna do car with a child. Humanoid. That health equals 0, which will make them die. Pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure you spell everything right. And that should be it. So now we're gonna use this. We're gonna do spawn so it runs asynchronously, aka run at the same time as this as the explosion is expanding. So kill all. That doesn't really matter that much. It should be a pretty fast function to run, but you know, why not? Just in case there's an error, it won't really matter as much. And that should be it to kill all the players, so that's pretty cool. So now let's test this again. Okay, I just realized I spelled the name wrong. So apparently there's a space here. I don't know why, but apparently there's a space in the name, and then it kind of broke down. But you shouldn't have that problem. That apparently was just for me. I don't know, but yeah. So now let's actually test it for real. I just tried kind of working out some stuff, but yeah, that was tiny bug ruined the entire game, but now it should work completely fine. Now I can hear the sirens, and the missile will come down sooner or later and kill all of us. As you can see, there's the shockwaves, an explosion, and we're all dead. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. We can change a bit of stuff here and there. Let's actually make the nuke fall down a bit lower than where it originally was. So let's make it go, let's see, it was 95. Let's make this like -8, because I think, or -10, so it's even. I'm not sure if this will actually increase, make it fall all the way to the ground, but it should be good. Let's test this out, and let's actually try to add more like visual effects, such as a camera shake and some like brightness effects and stuff like that, some atmosphere effects. Let's just test this out one more time. all the way to the ground. Just like that, we're all dead. But yeah, so now we can actually use some camera effects. Now I actually made a video tutorial on how to make like a camera effects. It was like a horror, like a jump scare tutorial or something like that. So I'm gonna open that right now. I'm gonna use the same script. If you haven't seen that video, I'll probably send the script or just make a model out of the script, and then you guys can use that. So it can be very helpful for your game. So this is basically the script I used for the jump scare tutorial. We're gonna basically use most of this. We're just gonna be modifying it a bit. So if you haven't watched that video, that jump scare tutorial, I definitely do suggest you do, just so you can understand what happens in all of this, script. But we're gonna add this. We're gonna make a local script inside the starter GUI, then paste this. We're gonna use a remote event, so we need a remote event as well. We don't need the cam part, so we can remove that. So we can remove all of that. We're gonna make a remote event and replicate storage. Let's call this camera effects. Okay, and then use a script. Inside the kill all function, we can fire this effect. Since we are using a spawn to fire this, to run this function, and we just want to run at the same time as the explosion occurs, just so it's more smoother or just faster in general. So let's make a remote let's call camera effects. So game sword camera effects, and then we're gonna do kill camera effects fire all clients, and then that's the remote. So game that replicates sword camera effects. And that should be good. All right, so now this is the camera shake. You can change these values. This just changes how much the camera shakes. So the lower the dividing value is, the more intense the shake is. So you can do 100 or just 50. 100 might be better. All right, now we can also do this is just a camera shake, but we can also change like the brightness of the screen, so it looks really like it looks like an explosion have happened. It looks like an actual nuke. So you can go to lightning. There's one I think where was it the atmosphere, or there's like atmosphere. You can increase. I've seen this one. This kind of helps. It makes it look like it's really like foggy. That kind of can help. I'm probably gonna use something like that. You can also change the brightness with color corrections. I can't even speak today, but yeah, you can change the brightness. I'm kind of try to change some of the brightness too, like something. Maybe that's too high. Maybe something like that. That's nice. And as well as the density to make it look kind of foggy or something like that. I don't even know what density is supposed to mean, but it looks nice, so I'm just gonna change that. So we're gonna make an extra effect in this. Let's actually just name this camera effects if you want. Camera effects. Just so it's more organized. Let's make a function. Add brightness. Add brightness. Okay. Now we're just gonna change like the density and the brightness of the lighting. So we'll do for I equals 1 to 10. 2. Actually, not 1 to 10. 1 to 10, 0.1, do. So the increment is 0.1. We're gonna do game.lighting.atmosphere.density equals I divided by 10 or I divided by 20. So it will reach about 0.5 max. Same thing with the color corrections. And we're gonna change the brightness. We're gonna make it reach 0.5 at the max, and then we're gonna set it back to normal once we finish from this. So density, the default value would be 0.03 or something like that. Let's make sure it's the default value. I'll actually put it back to, but yeah, by default it's 0.03. And the color correction, the default is 0, so we're going to turn this back to 0 once we finished all of this. And just add a wait inside this for loop like that. If you want, it doesn't really matter, or you can just make it like potato, whatever. But yeah, just make it so spawn bright, add brightness, so it runs at the same time as this, and it should be nice. So now we fire this camera effects. We fire the camera effects to all the clients, and this should be nice. All right, so let's see how this looks. Jump scare. Oh yeah, remove this as well because we're not using that sound. Oops. So remove that, and we also need to remove this because we don't need to use that, the jump scare sound. All right. So now we got the nuke. Nice. Nuke is gonna come down soon. I don't know where it is. Or there it is. And now you can see it's gradually getting really bright. Or you can just make it like instantly bright. Actually, I think that was better to make it instantly bright. So actually, just remove this. Actually, you might as well just remove like. Actually, remove all of this. Literally just do this, and I think once the player respawns, they will have or actually no, just keep it this. It's gonna be instantaneous anyways. And then once the player respawns, it's gonna set back to normal, I think. And then that should be it. Or you can add a wait here and then make it like that. But it should reset after the player respawns. In case the player doesn't respawn or the player hasn't died, we're just gonna do like wait. It's gonna be like wait for, and then set them back to normal. That. So like 0.03, and then those are the original values. Not the best, just for a tutorial, but you can see like this. Actually, I kind of like this. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of like this effect. I do like this effect. You can make this stronger by making it like 50. And then instead of this, actually, what we can do is make it faster, but not instantaneous. So we can do like, we'll do wait as well, but we're going to make it like 0. Not even 0.1, maybe like 1, honestly. Right? And then change it back to normal after we're done. Like that. Okay. Coolio. Actually, no, it's gonna be too fast. So actually, just change like that, and do what we just did like that. Wait for. Yeah, just do like that. That's really good. So we're gonna fire this. It's gonna increase pretty quickly, and then we're gonna wait 4 seconds. It's gonna set back to the normal density and brightness. All right. It's gonna come down soon. Now that I like. I really like this effect. And it's still pretty bright, but it's gonna... I should go away. Oh, damn, that's weird. Let's read this. Oh, yeah, it's because I respawned and wow, this didn't work, but... We're gonna do something like this first. Maybe outside of the thing. So it resets once the player respawns. And if not, we'll also add, actually, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's copy this. Oops, what was that? So once the player responds, it will set back to normal. Or if the player didn't respond, we'll set it back to normal after 4 seconds. I say that. Right, it should restart. Now we're good. All right. So now let's actually test this with a bunch of players, which is going to be pretty fun. We are back at it again with a bunch of fans from the Discord, and we're going to be pretty much shutting this system out. All right. There was a few bugs with the camera effects, but I'm going to post the camera effects script paste bin in the description, so just make sure you use that instead for the local script as the camera effects script. But yeah, let's nuke this whole place up and kill all these losers in this server right now. Oops, right now. Do that, do that. Yes. All right, and yeah, we're pretty much killing everyone now. So I'm gonna pretty much spam this until we get rid of all these losers. Now I'm joking, but let's actually wait for this to detonate first. Then I'll do my outro. Oh shit, there's a double. There's a double missile. Double missile. Double kill. Oh my god, we are not catching a break, are we? We are not catching a break. We are not catching a break, bruh. Nah, okay, I think we this not expect. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Pretty fun tutorial, I'm gonna be honest. Quite lengthy because of the nuke effects and all of that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like and give me a subscription. Subscribe, hit that bell notification too for notifications on new tutorials. Join our Discord server if you want to be in my next video, like this one. And yeah, so make sure you like, subscribe, and give me any cool suggestions you want me to make next, like a tutorial or a video idea, down in the comment section or in my Discord server. The Discord server link invite should be in the description, so you can join it if you want. We do a lot of cool stuff there. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.